Scotia NHL North Division, Calgary, Edmonton, Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto, Vancouver, Winnipeg. Guys, this is going to be a hotly contested division because not that there are no proven elite teams in this division. None.
No, none.
Like you could say that there's elite talent. There's lots of that, but no team has put it together. I think the furthest that any of them got last year was Vancouver, and good for them, but they've lost their big starting goaltender from that period. So let's go through. Steve, who are your picks for the Scotia NHL North Division?
I'll start by saying if any of these 7 teams made the playoffs, it wouldn't shock me, and that includes the Ottawa Senators. I'm serious. I think this division is as close as it comes. Anyone who tells you there's a consensus pick for the top team is a liar, as evidenced, by the way, by the Sportsnet picks today that were tweeted out. I don't think more than 3 or 4 people had the same team. So I'm going to go with the team that I believe finished with the best regular season record out of all the Canadian teams last year, and that's the Edmonton Oilers. Yeah, they got embarrassed in the bubble, lost to the Chicago Blackhawks and everything. At this stage in his career, betting against Connor McDavid is lunacy. Betting against Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl in the regular season is lunacy. And in this division, you get dragged into the fight, which I think is something the Oilers really like. That should have worked against the Blackhawks. It didn't, but 9 or 10 Battle of Albertas. Yeah. Sign me up for that every time. Second, I'll go with Calgary. That's why it's going to be such a slobber knocker of a division. I think Calgary, I've always talked about their biggest weakness being a lack of identity. Their biggest weakness on a lot of nights was Dave Rittich was a Vezina goalie, followed by he's just kind of an backup. And now he's backing up Jake Markstrom. Yeah. Like what an enormous upgrade. You get kind of a Cam Talbot trying to, restore his career versus Jake Markstrom, who's coming off like MVP caliber goaltending. So both Alberta teams get in. I am going to say Montreal makes the playoffs. They had a horrible regular season last year. Horrible. Even if I hadn't seen their performance in the bubble, I think I would still probably have them in the top 4. I might have someone else instead. We'll get to them later. But they just made really good upgrades. The Anderson contract is atrocious, but whatever. This is the first year of 7. We'll worry about year 7 in 7 years. This is the first year. He's not going to score 1 goal. I don't know if he's going to score 27, but he's going to do better. Toffoli's in there. Their goaltending is really, really good. Their young guys are getting even better. They're going to make it. And number 4, the Leafs. I can't imagine a scenario where they finish outside of the top 3 in this division, at least when it comes to the regular season. They could have gone into this division with last year's version of the team, which was full of holes, and still made it. But I think
that's true.
You know what? I'm feeling less confident with every second that passes.
They were an 8th seed who didn't make it through the play-in.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. But this version does make it. And Jack Campbell is such a huge part of it. They went through like slumps that really ended up biting them in the ass further into the season. They lost like 6 or 7 straight before they fired Babcock. And I can't help but think if they win 2 or 3 of those, how much different even their bubble scenario looks. And then you win another 2 or 3 because you have a competent backup. There's no way they miss the playoffs. I can't tell you how deep they're going to go. So Edmonton, Calgary, Montreal, Toronto.
Okay. Now, this is a tough one because like I said, there's not a lot of elite teams here, but they're all teams that have made the playoffs at least once in the last couple of years, with the exception of a new team on the scene. And a lot of people are overrating this team in my estimation right off the bat. I think they're going way too heavy on the Montreal Canadiens. Way too heavy on the Montreal Canadiens. That said, I think the Montreal Canadiens are going to make the playoffs this year. And yeah. I think that they got bigger, tougher, meaner up front. Toffoli and Anderson are great ads. Let's not forget, too, that they shored up their defense and obviously shored up their goaltending as well and spent a lot of money. I think they're spending like $13 million just on their goalies.
15.
50? Is it 15 million? How much are they paying?
Well, so I want to say Allen has a year left on his deal, but then they signed him to an extension.
So I have it here. It's Allen this year makes 4.35.
I had it
10.5, and then next year Allen will make 2.875.
Yeah, I had it reversed.
And I don't know how you mess with, like Tyler Toffoli is playing on the third line on this team. Tatar, Dano, Gallagher, Drouin, Suzuki, Anderson, Toffoli, Kakanyemi, Armia. That's a really, really strong top nine. And then, of course, Ben Sherratt, Shea Weber, Joel Edmondson, Jeff Petrie. And I know there's some people that are not necessarily huge Joel Edmondson fans. But I think he's solid and he does what he does. And Alexander Romanov is, kind of a wild card, but I'm excited to see him play. So I definitely think the Montreal Canadiens make it. I definitely think they make it. I'm going to go off the board a little bit here. I think what's going to matter the most in this division, because there's a ton of firepower, is your goaltending.
Adam's boy. Say it. Adam's boy.
The Winnipeg Jets are making the playoffs, guys. Connor Hellebuck, Vezina Trophy winner. Not going to make the playoffs? I wouldn't bet on it. The Winnipeg Jets haven't changed all that much. In fact, I think they got better. Paul Stastny on the second line playing with Patrick Laine, who can score 50 goals with the right centerman. I can guarantee if Patrick Laine was playing with Mark Scheifele, Patrick Laine would be a perennial 50-goal scorer. There's no question about it. And it makes me I do question why they don't play him there. I know that there's a bunch of reasons that are like outside of hockey, but from a pure skill perspective, hats off to Blake Wheeler, but seriously, it's got to be Patrick Laine on the top line to me. But that's why they brought in Stastny, because he got along so well on that Western Conference run a couple years ago where they lost to Vegas. It's heartbreaking. I think if you've got a goalie coming off of a performance like Connor Hellebuck put on, a team that's got some confidence, that isn't worried about goofy pucks going in, I think the Winnipeg Jets are going to sneak into the playoffs this year. And I know that doesn't make me a popular man, but I definitely think they've got it. Thirdly,
it's popular in Winnipeg.
Thirdly, and this is what it comes down to, guys. I'm going with goaltending here, and that means that the Calgary Flames are also going to make the playoffs this year. Calgary Flames have a pretty incredible, as Steve mentioned, set of goalies, Rittich and Markstrom. And Markstrom played great hockey last year. He was the backbone of the Vancouver Canucks, and I don't know how I don't know how they lose him and Tanev in the same season. Now, you might say to me, Adam, those 6-year deals for those guys, or whatever Tanev signed was 4 years. They're older. They're in their 30s, whatever. We're talking about just this year. We're talking about older guys who had a ton of rest, and just this year. And just this year, Markstrom and Tanev make Calgary so much better. This is a team that needed. I don't know what was wrong with Calgary, other than they had some fluky goals go in and that sort of thing. But they just for whatever reason, the last couple seasons, there was, I don't know if it's an attitude or a culture or whatever, but I think what Chris Tanev brought to the Vancouver Canucks is the kind of thing Chris Tanev will bring to the Calgary Flames. I think he's going to be a leader in that dressing room, and he's going to set the tone and make them a little less afraid. Do you know
Even
what I'm
when
saying?
he loses a step, he'll have value.
Yes, 100%. It's a mentality thing. It's like Joe Thornton, right?
Yeah, he's obviously lost a step, and he obviously brings something more than two busted knees.
100%. And when you've got Matthews and Marner flying around, which brings me to my fourth team to make the playoffs, it really doesn't matter. The Toronto Maple Leafs will make the playoffs. Freddie Anderson will have a bounce-back season. I've been tough on Freddie. I've been really tough on Freddie. And rightfully so. I think a lot of people have. He didn't have a great year last year, but let's not count out how bad Michael Hutchinson's year was. If you have half of the points back from the games, if you even had the 2 points from that Montreal game that kicked off Michael Hutchinson's season, it's a different game. It's a different team. And
you start your season with 3 straight wins.
Exactly.
In regulation.
Is Babcock still the coach? I wonder. That's the thing that happened last year. Happened last season. This is Sheldon Keefe's first go-around as the coach through training camp. It feels like eons ago because it was 2019. It's crazy.
What a great question. What a great question. You might be right, man.
It was the beginning of the end. There's no question. Mm-hmm. And the teams just seemed downtrodden and shitty after that, frankly. I also think there are the reason the Leafs, I think, are going to be so strong this year is there is some depth options that they just didn't have before. So last year, if you have a Kasperi Kapanen or Andreas Janssen go down, you don't have anybody to replace them. Now, they shouldn't sink the entire ship. I agree with you. But you don't have a guy coming up from the minors who can shoot a puck like Nick Robertson. And he might be outmatched in certain situations. He might feel small in certain situations right now. Kid's 19. What a shot that guy has. And he's going to draw in half the games this year. And that's going to be just fine. He doesn't need to play every night yet. But boy, he's going to be playing with the Marlies. He's going to get called up to the Leafs because injuries are going to happen. And Nick Robertson, I think, is going to be a real X factor for them just in terms of depth options. You know that there's going to be injuries. Any lineup roster that has Spezza and Thornton on it, they're going to need some rest. So if you're a forward with the Toronto Maple Leafs, you're going to be called on a lot of time to carry some extra load when those guys go down. And I'm going to go look through the roster here for just a second, because I don't think it's just him. The other guy that is really, really interesting coming out of camp is Adam Brooks, who has displaced Pierre Engvall on the center chart, which is, that's a huge changeover from the beginning of last season, which was in 2019. Let me remind you, Adam Brooks was a guy that they thought probably doesn't have it.
I think Pierre Engvall has better tools than Adam Brooks and could end up being better than him. But at this point, he's got a $1.25 million contract. Mm-hmm. And Brooks takes care of the puck better. Mm-hmm. Like Pierre Engvall, how do you get called out by the coach after a scrimmage?
That's right.
That's tough, man. And it shows you how disappointed in him they are. Supposedly he has 1 point in his last 25 NHL games, and that was a goal against David Ayres.
Yeah, his last goal was it March? Was it February 22nd? February 22nd was
David Ayres owes. I know Pierre Engvall's got more money, but David Ayres owes him dinner because that goal gave him the win.
100%. 100%. So I think the Toronto Maple Leafs make it. Now, I know people are like, you're freaking crazy. The Edmonton Oilers not going to make the playoffs.
I'm surprised, man.
So here's the thing. I don't have a hate on for Edmonton. I think it's going to be a battle all the way to the end. But Steve mentioned something I think is really important. First off, from a purely goaltending lens, the Edmonton Oilers goaltending is just weaker than the team.
How do you bring back Smith? How do you do it?
I don't know. And how old is Mike Smith? Is he 40 now?
I don't know.
So then you've got an incredible team. You've got such crazy talent. But you get past, because I don't believe Clefbaum is going to be playing for the first little bit.
No.
You got Darnell Nurse and Ethan Bear. I love Ethan Bear.
Big fan.
Caleb Jones and Adam Larson, who's lost a step and already was slow. And then on your third pair, and this may be the Toronto Maple Leaf fan in me, but Chris Russell and Tyson Barrie, both guys who are horrendous in their own zone. Like, you couldn't have put two guys less effective in their own zone on the same team. Like it's almost Goodbranson Johnson level. Like, it's such a bad. This is not a good pairing. Now, Dave Tippett's a great coach.
That's a fire drill. That's a fire drill.
Now, they probably won't get a lot of defensive zone starts, right, as we know. The issue I have is, for Tyson Barrie's sake, who's going to get back for him? Who's going to wheel and turn around when he pinches on a 5-on-5 situation? I understand he's going to be great in the playoffs, on the power play with McDavid and Draisaitl. Like, oh my God, what a dream scenario for a guy like him. But if you're going to put Chris Russell with him, I don't know how, if they can't keep the puck in the zone, like, you better have the McDavid line out there, because if they can't keep the puck in the zone, they're in serious trouble.
People are talking about Barrie like he's a Clefbaum replacement on the power play for sure.
Absolutely.
Like, he's great. He put up 40 points in like a terrible season last year. He can do it. But just the fact that you said he's starting on the third pair, come on. He's not a Clefbaum replacement.
No, he's not.
At 5-on-5, not even close.
It'd be interesting to see what Ethan Bear does in that role, though. And when Clefbaum, is Clefbaum coming back this year? I know he's
done for the year.
He is done for the year.
Oh, is he done for the entire year?
Yeah, he had shoulder surgery. He's not going to be back.
Yeah, so there you go, right? Like, that's rough. Now, you look at their top line: Nugent Hopkins, McDavid, Zach Kassian, not bad. Cahoon, Draisaitl, Yamamoto, who I love. But there's a lot of question marks in this lineup when you get to the third line. Kyle Turris. What is Kyle Turris right now? What is he anymore? Was he unfairly criticized because his contract was so big, or is he just not good anymore? Jesse Puljujarvi. We know that there's some exciting tools there, but he hasn't played in the NHL in 2 years. Like, literally since 2019.
It's different.
And even then, that was a bad Oilers team.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be a playoff Oilers team. Josh Archibald is Josh Archibald. Tyler Ennis is Tyler Ennis. Jujhar Khaira is Jujhar Khaira. Alex Chiasson is Alex Chiasson. You know what you're getting with that fourth line. And really, the fourth line shouldn't make or break a team.
Right.
But my question is, that third line, when you need Draisaitl and McDavid to have a minute, are you going to be able to trust any of those bottom six guys to be able to handle it? And I understand, like, oh, well, they're both perennial Hart Trophy candidates. Doesn't matter. it matters a little bit. Matters a little bit. And again, your goaltending for me, I've never been a huge Mikko Koskinen fan. And Mike Smith for sure is not high on my list either anymore. I mean, Mike Smith in 2012, absolutely. Olympic team Mike Smith, sure. And you've lost James Neal, and you've lost, well, James Neal's day-to-day right now, and Oscar Klefbom is out. So assuming James Neal gets back to health, you might have a lot more scoring punch up there with Connor McDavid. I just not sold on them.
I'm a big fan of Mike Smith 25% of the time.
Yes.
Like he's got two modes, like unbeatable and unplayable. Like he's a bizarre guy, bizarre goalie.
Vancouver's the other one that's going to piss a lot of people off. I know there's a lot of Canucks fans listening right now who are like, screw you guys. And I understand that. I would say the same thing.
I think more of them agree with you than you think.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
It's funny with Vancouver. I mean, I thought the Hamonic pickup was pretty shrewd because he wasn't bad. And Nate Schmidt, what a great get. But when you talk about what they lost this offseason, because they had to. They're
going to be an incredibly dynamic team. Like Quinn Hughes and Nate Schmidt on the same team is really cool. But they relied so heavily on Markstrom. And what a lot of Canucks fans don't say out loud, Thatcher Demko was not good last season. He had 3 legendary games in the bubble. Legendary. 3.
Without question.
Michael Hutchinson didn't get like millions of dollars because he played 3 good games in the bubble. Well, that's because he didn't, but he happened to win. But it's 3 games. He got really hot for 3 games. I think he's got potential. This is totally different. He's going to be getting like 50% of the net. It's that or an old Braden Holtby.
Well, and that's the question is what is Braden Holtby now? What is he now?
He's been good for a couple of years.
Right. So, and so it'll be very, very interesting. So there, to me, from a goaltending perspective, it's an issue. I'd like to see also with the 2 playoff teams or non-playoff teams. I'd like to see Matt Murray get back on track. I know that the Senators are not allowed to make the playoffs, obviously, but I want to see a guy like Matt Murray. He seems too young to not be good anymore.
He's too young to be washed.
Yeah. What is he? 26?
Might even be younger.
So, it's. I feel like Ottawa's got a really bright future. I'm a huge Brannistrom guy. Stutzel seems like just money.
What an X factor. Well, and I guess we'll talk to Dom Lucian about that later on.
Yeah. We'll talk to him next episode about it, and obviously we can talk to Haley a little bit about it. And Ian Mendez next episode. There's lots of interesting stuff going on in Ottawa. Obviously, I just don't think this is their year. So, Toronto, Montreal, Winnipeg, Calgary are my picks for the North Division. Now, guys, we do need to talk quickly about some of the people that will be on the panels this year for NBC.
Jesse, who are you for?
Vancouver, Toronto.
Didn't you already pick?
No.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Oh, I normally go to you first.
You guys just did a half an hour
I
deep
normally
dive
go
on
to
each
you first.
team and glossed over me. So
for some reason, I thought that. Oh, okay, my bad, Jesse. Go ahead. Sorry, dude. I was trying to go Steve, Jesse, me. I don't know. Sorry, Ed.